Just make a try. I don't want to be a bad host or something like that and not give an introduction, but I kind of do that all the time. So
Who is this guy, Nate? I've seen him around here and there. He may be somewhat important in the sport.
I actually have no idea who he is, but I seem to see his name holding a lot of trophies as of late.
Yeah,
So
especially in the last 12 months.
he looks to be a nice, promising up
Crazy.
and comer. Nice, promising up and
Yeah,
comer.
I've heard he's got potential. We'll see. We'll see how it pans out.
I heard as long as he can keep him away from girls and that booze and stuff, he might have a chance. What do you think, Albin?
Yeah, I'm with you.
No, that's awesome. Albin, we're joined with you today. How's it going?
All good so far. Arrived safely at home, and yeah, well, not much to relax. Got to go to the table back probably with beginning of next week. Prepare for the World 10 Ball and the Las Vegas Open.
Yeah. Well, the Mosconi Cup tickets were just released about an hour ago. They sold out already. Were you able to get yours yet? I know that you really want to be in the stands to be able to watch Europe, right?
Yeah, well, to be honest, I didn't really try to get one. I'll hopefully get a different ticket than you, maybe. But
Are you VIP shaming me right there? Are you VIP shaming me?
Maybe a little bit.
He's one of
Hopefully
like the 10 people on Earth that can go and crack that joke to you, Nate. That's it.
If you can't have fun, what can you have? Well, no, I mean, this is obviously this is a non-ranking event, but at the end of the day, even if you don't end up qualifying as one of the three, it's pretty hard to look at a 9-ball matchroom event that you've already snapped off and think that you don't have a real solid chance, even if you don't qualify as the one through three, that you're still going to be getting in. I would assume. Got to feel good about that at this point.
I mean, of course, I won a lot of tournament in the last 12 months, but that doesn't guarantee me a spot. I mean, it's still almost 9 months to go, so it's quite hard to say. I mean, of course, I started the year good with the PLP win, but there are so many more tournaments to come. And but I'm really looking forward to it, and hopefully, of course, I can qualify through the ranking and not have to hope for a wild card.
How different are the conditions, or how different is it mentally being on, let's say, like a Derby City, which I know this was your first year, or let's say the International, compared to being on a matchroom stage?
Well, Derby City is something special, I would say. It's totally different to other tournaments, where you have a schedule where you know when to play, and with the buyback, it was a little bit crazy because I know right now that if I go there a second time, I'm gonna do the buyback as late as I can because I think they were so far behind in schedule that I did the buyback right away, and there were only like, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 players in round 7, and then I draw Sanchez. He gave me a 6-pack, and I was out. So, but I mean, you and also PLP you cannot really compare with any other tournament. I think nowhere else you have so many back-to-back matches, or even 6, 7, 8 matches per day, which is crazy. But I think it fits me. I don't know. I think that's the only thing I can say by winning 2 in a row. Of course, you will have ups and downs. I mean, in the end of the day, we're just humans, So and we make mistakes. I think pretty much every player had a really bad day during the tournament, and but I was still glad that I made it through stage 3, even when I had a bad day. So it's rough.
Well, I think this is so I had kind of mentioned this to Emily and just asked what her opinion on it was, but obviously you've won this event twice now, and I would say of all the players who are what I would consider consummate professionals, meaning like they actually take their health and fitness off the table just as seriously as their work on the table. I would consider you definitely falling into that. Maybe one of the best in the world at it. You're constantly running. You're constantly, keeping yourself in shape. Do you think that actually helps you with these events? And do you think that that's part of the reason why you're able to hold yourself together on day 7 and day 8 as well as you do?
I mean, of course, there has to be something what I do different to other players, you know. And I think when it comes down to sports off the table, I think I'm one out of maybe three or whatever, or maybe four who I see in the gym or having a run during a tournament. You know, before it was always the Cole brothers who did cardio pretty much every day, and but actually now you see Jason sometimes, but I think I've
When?
never seen
When was the
Jason at
last time?
At Moscone Cup. I know he
I
gained
love
a
you,
little bit of
Jason.
weight.
You went there, Nate. You had to go there, buddy. Jeez.
Yeah, no, I know he gained some weight, but that's fine. You know, I mean, he opened a pool hall. He said he's there like 10 hours per day, but he's still doing some fitness. He did pretty much every day at Moscone
Yeah.
Cup. I'm also going to the gym with Max a couple of times, you know, and someone I always see at pretty much every tournament is Alex Kazakis. He changed pretty much everything in his life. Before he said he's sleeping till noon and whatever, and then going to practice. And so finally we had a talk, and I said, yeah, I'm going to practice I'm at the practice table at maybe between 7 and 8 a.m. Because of my daughter, and then having a run or biking or whatever. And actually that idea, I don't know, suits him, and so he started also working out. He's going for running and everything, and he's feeling like a different person now. He told me, and I think he's also playing different.
What's tougher, winning a matchroom event or putting the kids to bed?
Oh well, both is quite tough sometimes. I mean, she's in an age now where it's quite easy, you know, do some reading before heading to bed, and then it's fine. It takes only like 10 minutes, so it's not that
Oh,
tough anymore.
you're lucky, my man.
Yeah.
I will say this in defense of Jason. Going back to that, I've ate at his or at his pool room before. If I lived near his pool room, I'd be like 700 pounds. That the food there is so good. I mean, anybody who's in that is he's in Salem, Connecticut, I think or is it Orange, Connecticut? Wherever it is in Connecticut. I mean, if you don't go there all the time and frequent that place, you're missing out because that is some good food.
Okay.
All right. So anyways, Albin, I guess in the pantheon of your wins now, you've won this event twice. You've won the World Championship. You've won a Moscone Cup. I mean,
Twice.
all of the things that have happened in there in the last basically year and a half. Oh, sorry, you won the VG10 2.0. I'm sure that's very high up on your list too.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mentioned it every time.
yeah, of course. I saw it on your Wikipedia page. It was actually the highest one, so
Yeah,
that's good.
yeah,
When they introduce
Yeah.
them at Derby, that's what they start with, Nate. The VG10.
Yeah.
Yeah. I paid them a lot of money to
Yeah.
do that. I'm still paying that off. I'm still paying that off. Where does this one fall? Obviously it's a second win, but where does it fall in kind of the pantheon of where you consider your wins the last couple of years?
Well, you know, it's 16 of the best players. It's a tough field. I think pretty much every match is like coin flip. I mean, there are some favorites on paper, but still on a race to five against the top 16, top 20 player. I think it's a coin flip, to be honest. 31 matches throughout 8 days. You play back to back. You're kind of always under pressure. You cannot really relax throughout the day. So I think that's definitely, I would say, top three.
Wow. And of course it's a matchroom event.
Yeah.
It's no coincidence the consistency that you've had. What would you credit that most to? Because it's easy to in 9 ball to go and say things got to go perfect for you to win one event, but to have all the successes throughout last year and then defending this year, and what I agree with you, it's coin flip. What's the secret without giving too much away to your competition?
To be honest, I think it's pretty much the fitness thing, because
Yeah.
it gives me some extra power. It gives me more consistency. So I think throughout the tournament, where you're playing the morning, where you're playing the evening, with jet lag, everything, I think that's the point where I don't know, like players like Orcolo in the final, he just played horrible, to be honest, at the international.
Yeah.
Because throughout the day, if you have like 3-4 matches, I maybe had just more power left in the tank and more energy, and I think that's pretty much it. The fitness, I would say, I think that made the difference in the end at many tournaments, I would say.
So I haven't asked you this, I don't think, in the past before, but of course fitness is a huge part of it. But your diet is a huge. I would assume it's got to be a huge part of it too. Do you take your diet as seriously as you take your practice and your fitness?
I mean, at home, I'm trying to eat healthy, to eat good, but at tournaments, it's just
Tough.
crazy tough. I mean, of course, during the pandemic, where all the restaurants were closed, it was even tougher. I mean, now like in Milton Keynes, it's fine, with the restaurants open again. But in America, like at Derby City, it was just horrible. I mean, there was. I mean, the food was okay, but it's food where you feel sick after, and
You're ready to take a nap after you get done eating that
yeah,
burger
yeah,
from the food court.
yeah, right. So that doesn't really help you. And I think throughout, like, if you're there for 10, 14 days, I think it's quite tough, to put on a diet and eat just salad and whatever. It's crazy tough. But it was also the worst thing was always in China, I think, where you eat like 10 days rice, noodles, and that's pretty much it.
That sounds like a dream to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm American.
What are your goals for this year, Albin? I mean, I know you got a lot of stuff coming up. It's a full schedule. It's easy to kind of like look to the future and say, obviously, you want to be there in December, but each
Hmm.
event is different, and you're jumping from playing 9-ball at the PLP to next month out in Vegas playing 10-ball. How do you continue to stay motivated, and what are your goals in the next, let's say, couple months and in the next year?
I mean, to stay motivated is quite easy because it's just my job. So it's kind of a mindset, and of
But you've won
course,
everything. How do you keep
no,
that
yeah, yeah.
fire going when I've
Oh
won the
well,
world
there
championship,
there.
I've Mosconi Cup champion, I've done all these things.
I mean, there are new tournaments on the calendar. I mean, we got the U.S. Open, we got the U.K. Open.
European
Of
Open.
course, finally, I want to win a 10-ball tournament from the Predator Tour, and of course, a big one is the World Games this year. I'm gonna be in Alabama this year. Only did a fifth place in the last one, so that's a big one for me. And yeah, of course, Mosconi Cup is always the highlight at the end of the year, but that's a long, long way to go.
So I guess with you winning basically everything for the last year, give me one player or no players who you still would not play in, let's say, a race to 100 9-ball, and then another player in race to 100 10-ball. Is there anybody you're afraid of in either of those games?
But 10-ball, I would. There are definitely a bunch of players I would never play. Um, I think starting with Shane or Fedor or even Josh. I think 10-ball. I mean, if it's with template, I would. There are maybe just a few I wouldn't play, but with the rack, I think I'm one of the worst. Um, 9-ball also it depends on the rack, of course. If you do with template or with the ref racking, I think of course I would play everyone. It doesn't matter who, but I think there are of course players who can beat me. There's no doubt about it. I mean, Josh was very very close to beat me, in this tournament. Shane as well. So I mean, it's not like I'm just two levels better than everybody because I won the tournament. It's just maybe in the end I just could handle the pressure better than others.
Well, let's talk about Shane because you brought him up, and that was a hell of a match. I think you're up something like 6-2, 6-3, something like that.
Yeah,
And
I
then
was always like two racks up. Yeah.
yeah, and then at the end of it, he kind of just one little window here or there, and it's 6-6. The match on the other table ends, so you guys end up with a longer break in between than what you would have
which was
normally.
which was probably good for me
That's
because
what I
at
wanted to
six.
know because me and Nate were debating about this the other day.
I think it would
Yeah,
be
I
good.
mean, I took a timeout anyway, so it didn't really matter. I mean that I had a huge bounce. I mean, I don't know if someone saw it on TV or YouTube channel, but I had a huge bounce from the, was it 3 to the 4 or something?
Oh God, how did you
And
end up
Black
there,
on the
Albin?
4.
How did you
yeah,
end up like that on there?
I couldn't believe. And then of course, yeah, I mean, you can talk about it or debate about it. If I would have ran out with the less break in between, it's hard to say, and we'll never find out. But
Luckily for
I
you.
was, hmm?
Yeah.
Luckily for you.
Yeah. No, of course it could have gone either way, but I think it was not a big issue or something that really helped me, because actually, to be honest, I was a little bit angry that we had to wait like 5 minutes for starting the match again.
You can tell you were a little bit on tilt. You know, your face kind of says it all at times.
Yeah,
Does the,
because I didn't understand, I mean, they could have just switched for like 1.5 minute break, but we took the full 5 minute break to get
yeah.
for one rack to our table. So I was a little bit angry on that, and yeah, but it is what it is, and it had a good ending for me.
What are you thinking when you're getting down on that one ball to go and break them? Because it's everything. The break is
I
everything for you guys.
I just didn't want to scratch, to be honest. I think making a ball was like almost 100%. I just wanted to have a good stroke on the break and not scratching. I think that was the main thing. But I hit it actually perfect. Just got a little hit from the two ball, and from there on, I mean, I had one tough shot, the three ball, where I got a little bit lucky for position on the four. But it was like a hit and hope shot for position, because I had no time left, and so I just went for it.
Yep. Well, here we'll ask this question from Lil Chris. What was going through your mind in the last rack against Joshua Filler, and as well Shane, because we're kind of on that kind of same topic as well.
Hmm. It was pretty much the same. You want to hit a good break, of course. I hit it very good, I would say. I was quite nervous, to be honest, but I was still feeling good. Like I could do it. But when I saw the actually the two ball, it was tough, because I had a tough angle, and there was not really a gap to get in good shape for the three ball. The three ball was close to the side pocket, so I need a good angle to go to the four ball, and it was a tough final rack.
How do you not get down mentally when you're in that final and you're trailing already 4-0 in a race to 7, against, Josh
Hmm.
Filler sitting across from you?
To be honest, I when it was 4-0, I thought it's gonna be a whitewash, like 100%. The way he played till 4-0 was incredible. He made some incredible shots. I mean, he made mistakes, position mistakes, but he played some incredible shots. And so then actually it started. I
The
think
jump,
he
he
missed.
took on the jump.
No, no. First he missed the one ball. Then I had an illegal
Yeah.
break where he took on the jump,
Yeah.
which I didn't really understand, because there was no need to do it. And then on 4-2, he played a very weak push out, I would say. I think there were many other options to play push
I
out.
couldn't believe it, Albin, because the 8 ball sitting
Yeah,
right there in the corner, and
the
that
two
bank
two
for a
ball,
guy like you,
the
or
two
with
ball.
2
Yeah,
ball. I mean, it
yeah,
seemed like the bank was pretty lock solid for a guy like you to go and
yeah. I
combo
mean,
that.
I had a big window there, to
Right.
to play the combo, and he knew I have to go for it. I mean, there's no
You can't
reason
give that
to
back.
give it
There's
back.
no way.
No, no chance. And that actually opened the match back for me. And I think the next one I ran out, and it was 4-4 again. So it was everything open.
Yeah, and I think maybe it was that rack, maybe it was at 5-5, but he missed a 7 ball too. That what
It was
after
actually
he missed the
before, yeah, that I
what?
missed the five ball.
Yeah,
Oh, it
and
was
then he
right there too.
and then he gave it back to you.
Yeah,
What were you thinking when he gave you that back with the 7?
Thank you. I mean, of course. I mean, you're sitting in the chair, and I was actually kind of preparing for my next break. To get the focus again, and because it was still not over. You got a break, you can run out to go hill. But of course, when you see the 7 ball and the 8 in the pocket and the 9, you never think against the Josh that you would come back on the table.
Yeah, I mean he's pretty deadly, and a lot of you Europeans are. We've seen a lot of successes starting off in 21 from, Mosconi Cup teammates and guys who have been on the team before. Let's talk about it for just a second. How tough of a team is Team Europe going to go and put together this year? Because we've seen Jason just running out balls from everywhere. Josh is in the finals of pretty much everything. You're picking up right where you left off, and then you got Federer, who was left off last year, who pretty much wins all of Derby City.
No, I mean, you got so many more players to pick from. You got Sanchez, who won the Derby City.
Right.
Of course, you got David, who always goes deep in the tournament. You got
Alex Kazakis is playing
Ekland.
pretty good.
Alex Kazakis won the 10-ball tournament, and I think he's looking good this year. Ekland, you never know what you actually get. I mean, he played quite horrible at the PLP, but he can recover quickly, and come back strong. Max had a decent or I would say good year, but never got really deep in the tournaments, like 5th or 9th. So he needs a breakthrough again, like at the international. So you
Right.
got so many players to
And we're
look
not even
into for this year.
We're not even mentioning players like Mario He or Victor
Yeah,
Zelinsky or
of
Dennis
course,
Graba.
of course.
You know,
Yeah.
those players were all playing real good.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be pretty tough, right? It's a lot easier on the U.S. side, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, look, the players we got way too much, and actually I would say America got maybe like one team who could really be a good team, not like just 5 individual players putting together and hope for the best. I think they got maybe 6 players, maybe let's say 7, who also competed at the big stage already at matchroom events, who could really do good or did good in previous years. But then still, I mean, there's, I think, no team from team, or to bring out one team from USA who would be favorite against Team Europe. Doesn't matter, I think, who you put together.
Take us through, because you're describing one team. So what is that one team in your eyes?
To be honest, I think it's, of course, I mean, Shane, Skyler, Billy, I would say Chris, Reinhold, and yeah, to be honest, I would maybe pick Earl.
Yeah.
He's a hell of a player.
You just want someone to go on the treadmill with.
No, he's fearless. He doesn't really care if there are 3,000 people. Of course, he's tough to look at and tough to take sometimes, but he's a crazy good player. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And I think Tyler, I'm not sure, they were a little bit rough on him last year, just a little bit.
They were rough on Sky too, but he laughed at him, and then everybody just loves him.
Yeah, true. I mean, then you also got Oscar, but Oscar doesn't really play on the big stage. He doesn't really play there. Of course, who else you got? Jeremy Sosa. Okay, he got 9th at the World 9-ball or something, but also for the big stage, I'm not sure. So I think Shane, Skyler, Billy, Chris, and Earl would be my team for Team USA.
Who's one of your toughest opponents on matchroom stages out of those, let's say, out of those 5?
Yeah, I think the biggest fights I had with Skyler, I believe. I mean, it was every time we faced each other was at Mosconi Cup. I think we never played at other ranking tournament against each other, but like 5-6 times already at Mosconi Cup, and he was always the toughest opponent for me.
it seems like every time when it's a guy like a you or a Jason or a Josh, he steps up to the moment, where and it's always seems to be one or two little mistakes that go and change the whole match, because you guys are essentially just throwing or exchanging punches back to back to back to back.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think we had some good matches, and looking forward to play again. Play him again, and the Mosconi Cup. I had a bad match against him last year. Didn't really feel good, but also because of the day before, where we did the huge mistake with playing, where Eklund played the two shots in a row. I think got a little bit too hard on myself with that error. But fair play to him. He played a good match.
I think you mentioned that as the biggest mistake of your career. Why would you weight it like that? I mean, at that time.
Because Mosconi Cup is once per year, so you gotta be, or you want to be ready. You gotta be ready. It's anyway. It doesn't matter if with fans or not with fans. It's tough to play. You put some pressure on yourself, and to lose in that kind of a way was just, I'm quite hard on myself. If I do mistakes, I think everyone knows that, and I think that was maybe, yeah, like I said, one of the biggest mistakes I ever did, because actually shot clock fits me, but in this moment it was crazy. We talked after it. We didn't even think about. We didn't have a clue anymore that we were already on the table before. So it was just very, very stupid and painful afterwards, of course.
Yeah. In my mind, that's what makes you a leader of that team. We saw that of Darren for many, many years, where guys who are just unspoken captains or leaders out there. And I think it's with statements like that is what makes you, that team's leader out there, Albin. For my money.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So jumping topics a little bit, if you could win one tournament this year, like you were guaranteed to win one tournament, and you could choose between the U.S. Open, the World 10 Ball, and the World 9 Ball, which one would you choose and why?
I think U.S. Open.
Because you haven't won that one before?
Yeah, I mean, I also didn't win the World 10 Ball, but the U.S. Open, it has such a big history, and 256 players on a huge stage, all the names, all the good players come together, competing there. And like I said, being U.S. Open champion, that's a huge name in pretty much every sport on the planet. And I think that would be a very, very special and rare moment in my career.
I think that'd be a really good topper. Of course, you have to want to get a U.S. Open and a World 10 Ball. You said you haven't won either of those. What's another big title that you haven't won? I mean, that's pretty much. As far as the huge events, that seems like it's basically it for you. Is there any other tournaments on your radar that you'd like to win?
I mean, you got the the UK Open for the first time this year, which is basically a little bit like the US Open, just in the UK. From the format. So it's gonna be also crazy tough. I mean, the World Games, is something special, something unique, where I think it's 16 players, 16 of the best players in the world, or maybe 10 the best players of the world, and like 6 wild cards from different continents. No, it's just because every continent has to play there. Right. I remember I played a guy, was it 3-4 years ago? Never saw before. I had no clue who he is, and I played him first round, and I never saw him before. So I would say still one of the best players come together there, and it's just, I think, a special tournament to represent your country at the World Games. So that would be a great tournament to win, I think.
I think the American fans would go even more on tilt if a European comes over and wins the U.S. Open. I'm just saying, because you guys have already won a lot this year.
Yeah. Sure.
Is the World Games as close to like the Olympics as we can get right now, Albin?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. I just watched the Winter Olympics, and it's hard to see also in the Summer Olympics what kind of sports are in the Olympics or just got into the Olympics. Uh, it's tough. I don't know if we're not big enough, or if there's not enough money involved to get into the Olympics. But I think pool or cue sports, I think pretty much everyone on this planet has already played one of the cue sports, either carom, snooker, or pool. Doesn't matter if he's like 8 years old or 80 years old. And so it's hard to see what kind of sports get into the Olympics. I hope to that we get in there until I'm still active player, but I think it's gonna be a tough and long way.
Well, I mean, with ambassadors like you being professional, like Nate said, being the faces of, and not just nine ball, but I mean, obviously nine balls, what Matchroom's pushing and it's vogue and it's right now and it's on TV all the time, but at least it's a good step forward, because having
Well, I think
ambassadors and
Yeah,
faces of sports is important.
let's have this
yeah,
debate, because I think it's a fun one with Albin being here, because we've talked about this on the podcast before, and I personally do not believe that pool is worthy of being in the Olympics, and I don't think it's worthy of being in the Olympics because you can't even point to a single organization and be like, this runs our sport. You kind of can now to a lesser degree with Matchroom, and especially the last couple of years, because they've actually stepped up and tried to take a leading role, where I feel like in the past they've been much more hesitant to want to do that. But I mean, let's go back to 2-3 years ago when the win. I guess 1 year ago, I guess when the Summer Olympics were. But let's go back to 5 years ago. Pool was in such shambles. It's almost an insult to even think that it would be worthy of the Olympics with how disjointed it is and how there's just no organization anywhere. I didn't think it was worthy of the Olympics. Now I think we're getting closer. I think the Matchroom is doing a lot of great things. Do you think that it's worthy of being in the Olympics?
worthy, of course, because I mean, I think it means like 10 times more money for every federation. Um, so more money for federation means more tournaments paid for the athletes. So more pro players and not like semi-pro players who got to work besides pool, so they can focus on that. I mean, I know many Olympic athletes, and I know what they earn per money and how easy it's for them to have like 3-4K per month for doing nothing, just being in the Olympic team. I mean, of course, first you have to qualify for it. I mean, that's tough, of course. But as soon as you're there, I think it's definitely worthy.
Well, you're describing that you want it to be there and why you want it to be there, but that doesn't mean it's worthy of being there, right? Is it as worthy of being
Well,
there as, let's say, curling or badminton?
that stuff's exciting, man.
All these other kind of goofy sports.
Well, curling is in, or what do you mean?
Well, I'm saying that those sports are in
Yeah,
there. Do you think pool
yeah.
obviously is not? Do you think that pool is worthy of it being as like an organization of pool in general? Obviously, it's a
I,
worldwide sport, and there's a lot of countries that
yeah,
could field a team, which is amazing. But does that justify it belonging there?
yeah. But can you tell me where do you go curling? If you want to go curling, where do you go?
Actually, there's a
That's a good question
there's
because I wouldn't know
there's
where to
ac-
look.
well, I'm from Wisconsin, and it's cold here, so we actually have a curling rink that's
Yeah,
like 15. Basically, it's one giant bar because everybody that goes there gets
yeah.
just super hammered. But apparently, it's like we actually have uh not this Winter Olympics, but the Winter Olympics before that. We actually had a team in the Olympics from Madison, and
Yeah.
I have a couple of mutual friends that know them, and they basically are like dads that just want to go out and get hammered every single week
Mm.
and get away from their wives, and then they ended up being in the Olympics like that. It's the funniest
Yeah,
thing ever.
yeah.
And they actually talked to him
No,
afterwards. They said that the people that competed in the Olympics ended up taking, I don't know, they ended up medaling or something like that, and they're like, uh it's kind of weird curling while sober. We didn't really know how to do it.
mm. Yeah, I mean it's tough. I don't know what the rules are even to get in. I think the country who's doing the Olympics can choose a sport, right? That's what I heard,
Yeah,
or a
because
couple
Japan
of
picked.
sports. To,
I think Japan picked skateboarding as one of theirs.
yeah. So actually, we should hope for a country that or where pole is quite famous. So maybe Korea or
The
something. But it
Philippines.
was actually in Korea, and but I think it's a long way to go. I don't think we can get into, but I heard we were in the last 8 sports. I don't know last time, and they picked 3. They picked, I think, surfing,
Breakdancing.
breakdance.
Is that right?
I
Breakdancing
mean,
for real?
Yeah, breakdancing is
yeah.
an
Yeah.
Olympic sport now.
Wow.
I mean, Mike, you look like a little bit of a breakdancer.
Give me a cardboard. I might be able to break down a little bit.
Big old
Yeah,
speaker on your
yeah.
Yeah.
shoulder.
Hey, I'm an '80s kid,
Uh,
man. So I know how that goes.
yeah.
You're
Which
that
is
old?
funny
How old
because
are you, Mike?
35, man.
Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
old. I'm gonna
um,
start calling you Jim.
which is funny because like breakdancing is not even a sport in Austria, it's like art.
A
Dancing
hobby.
is like art in Austria. So it's funny that those sports get into Olympics, but I think there are enough people out there who also think, well, pool is not a sport.
Well, Nate's one of them.
I just want when pool goes into the if and when pool goes into the Olympics, I just want there to be actual traction that can come from it. I don't want the pool going into the Olympics and somebody from Zimbabwe watches it and they're like, "Oh, that's the coolest thing ever. I want to play pool. Let's go try to watch pool." Oh wait, where do I watch it? Because there's nothing that exists, right? I mean, Matchroom is making huge strides in this, but at the end of like 5 years ago, if just imagine somebody in Tunisia or something like that wants to get interested in pool, what's the outlet? It's very easy to find something for baseball or for
Well, but it's growing though,
lacrosse.
because the
Yeah,
calendar's getting more full now, more
correct,
organized now, more,
correct.
not just on the 9 ball side of things, but the 10 ball, where you can find places. And like to what Albin said, you can also find locations anywhere in the world to go and play Q sports.
It's a
I'm curious,
worldwide
Albin,
sport.
like how hard has it been for a guy like you to buy into Matchroom's vision? I know now it's easier because you can literally see a calendar, right? And you can see it every month of where you're going to go and all over the world. But when Nate was talking about 5 years ago, how tough was it then to like say, okay, yeah, sure, you know, I'll take the leap of faith.
And Emily's watching.
No, of course it was rough, before only with the Euro tours and a bunch of tournaments. It was a rough calendar. Um, and you didn't really know, okay, should I go there? Because it was like China Open we had back in the days. We had the World Nine Ball in Doha. We had, I think, once the Kuwait Open, and that was pretty much it. And so I think having Matchroom back was, I think, the best thing we ever had in pool, or probably in the last 15, 20 years. Um, so seeing now Emily, who, you know, puts all the hard work in it, and it's not only pool what she does. She has so many different sports is behind Matchroom, and the hard work she does for pool, especially with the UK Open. I think the European Open, or whatever it's called, the US Open. You got the PLP, you got the World Cup of Pool, World Pool Masters, Moscone Cup. And that's just crazy. I mean, I think no one would have ever thought that pool could get back on track, because it was quite lost, I would say, because the World Nine Ball in Doha was just, I think, boring to watch for pretty much everyone, and now it's just, I think, exciting for everyone to see pool again.
I agree
Yep.
with you because I stayed up many a nights watching the World Championships on the internet, watching China Opens, which actually I like the China Opens because
Mm.
the competition has is pretty fierce out there. How are you looking forward to seeing the Chinese and Taiwanese players come back after, not seeing them around, in tournaments for the last couple of years? What are your thoughts on that, if any?
Do you really think I missed them?
Yeah, I'm gonna say what.
That's the response I want to know, Albin.
I actually want to thank them for not coming.
I love
I
it.
mean, I kind of have to. I mean, I won 4 tournaments in 12 months, and I think I only played maybe 2 Asian players, in all tournaments.
What are those 4 tournaments? Because I'm counting 4, but I'm not. Where's the VG10
the CLP.
2.0?
Oh, sorry, 5.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I was thinking 5, but I just wanted to make sure.
VG, was it 2020 or 2021?
Oh, you're hurting Nate's
I
feelings
think
here, Albin.
it was 2021. It was right after the New Year.
Okay. Sorry, yeah, 5.
Yeah, it's all good. No,
Yeah.
it wasn't the VG10 that you forgot about. It was the World Championship, right? You forgot to count the World Championship.
No, I said CLP, World 9-ball, International,
Oh.
and the PLP.
I was hoping that you remember the VG10, but you forgot the World Championship. That's
yeah, true.
Okay, so
no, I mean, of course, it would be nice to see them back at the table again. I mean, because it has like a strange taste when you win the World 9-ball and you see a bunch of people posting, yeah, that was the weakest World 9-ball we ever saw, blah blah blah, with no Chinese or Taiwanese and whatever there. But I don't really care. I mean, you still got to win the tournament. I mean, I had a tough draw. I played many good players, and in the end, the title is the title. So I don't really care. But of course, I would like to see them again.
Well, it's your second. It's your second World Championship, and that term kind of gets thrown around loosely when guys get introduced. World champion. But you've won that thing 2 times, but it was a big stretch in between. Like, how do you stay consistent, Albin? How do you stay, through all that time, win one here and win one there? And you probably, I mean, this was your best year all those years later from your first one.
Well, you gotta believe in yourself, and you always gotta see.
But you've been known to get on tilt. You've been known to, get a little off there at times.
No,
frustrated.
of course. We just talked about it today. That even if you look at me sitting in the chair and I look like I don't care anymore, I just want to go home. I'm still giving 100% when I'm back at the table. I can. It's like a switch. I can turn on or off as soon as my opponent makes a mistake or lets me back to the table for whatever reason. And of course, it doesn't work always, but I would say mostly.
You do a good job of it, man.
Yeah. So there are seemingly dozens of different formats at this point. You have, of course, like your U.S. Open where you play a qualifier to a single elimination. You have your Derby City Classic where you have these kind of buy-ins with random draws. You have the PLP formats. You have just the standard double elimination. You have the standard single elimination. You have like the double elimination. That's a single final. There are so many different types of formats out there now at this point in the game of pool. Which one do you think is your favorite and why?
Favorite. I mean, if I look at the tournaments I won, then it's probably double elimination till last 32 and then single elimination. But I think the most fair format is double elimination till the final. I think that's the most fair format, which we had before at the US International. But I was actually kind of glad that they changed it, and also changing the break rule to alternate break.
Yeah. You like the alternate break better than being able to hit your opponent with packages and let's say like a race to 7 or 9?
Yeah, of course it's nice when you hit your opponent, but that also can happen to you, and then you think, oh, that's bullshit, No, I think, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I won with alternate break. I won with winner's break. it's tough. It also depends on the break. I think winner's break with the one on the spot might be a little bit too easy, and can really hurt you. But I think like at the international with the break box, I think then it's fair to say you play with the winner's break.
Should pro players be allowed to rack the balls for themselves?
No. Or maybe just
Would you
no
like to expand?
Americans. No, I think it just looks unprofessional. I think, to be honest, if you wreck yourself, and we saw a bunch of pictures from last year from the World 10 ball where someone wrecked up like a ball higher, or he in 9 ball he leaves a gap on the very last ball with the 9 on the spot. So I think there should be always a ref wrecking, and with template, I would say, because with wooden rack it makes no sense to have a referee there. But with template, I think it's totally fine and fair to both players.
Well,
Yeah, I think the breaking is going to be the big issue that Matchroom is going to end up always having, because I mean, at least until they get like a proper full collage of professional referees that know how to rack the balls. The biggest complaint I hear from players about the Predator Tour at this point is that the referees that they have can't rack the balls, or at least not all of them. And so you're going to end up getting, you'll in a race of 4, if you get slugged twice and your opponent gets 2 good racks, which is very, very possible to happen, it makes it super, super difficult to be able to fade that and still be able to win in a race to 4.
What's your response to that, Albin? Because that's a great point.
Yeah, at the last Predator 10 ball, I had to go into a shootout against I don't know, 400 Fargo rated player because he did 110 on the break and played 2 combos. I made 1 mistake and I lost 4-2 or 4-3 in the second set. I had to go into a shootout because just the refs couldn't rack. But it doesn't matter if the refs cannot rack, but then you have to change the rules so it doesn't matter if they make the 10 on the break.
For sure. You can't have the 10 ball go on the break
Yeah, the 10 ball can never count when 2 refs who have no clue about racking are racking, because it gives the ref too much power to decide a match.
But isn't that part of like the randomness of sport, though, Albin, whenever you have referees involved? Because pick a sport where you have judgment calls being made, basketball, football, whatever.
Okay, but they also look back. They have, what's it called,
replay,
the Hawkeye in tennis, and they got all the screens also in NHL, in NFL, where they look
but
back
in tennis, if you lose your challenge, you can't go and dispute it anymore.
Of course, but you can challenge. Well, what are you doing when your opponent makes twice the 10 ball on the break? What are you
watching
challenging?
them rack again?
Going on tilt.
Watching them rack again.
Can say thank you and sit down, and that's just, I think it gives him too much power to decide a match.
Yeah. I mean, even Darren Appleton in the chat says none of them can rack. So
yeah,
there seems to be a gripe.
There were days where I think every 2 minutes there was the 10 ball being made on the break, or it just was in front of the pocket, after the break. And that shouldn't happen. I mean, that's a professional tour. I mean, of course, amateur players are there, but some players are flying from Europe there to play a race to 4 and then maybe lose because the opponent gets 3 times the 10 on the break, and that just shouldn't happen.
I will say this: when I played Mika at the Wisconsin one, his 10 ball ended up over the bottom left corner, 2 racks in a row, and then he broke the 10 ball in. It's the only reason he won.
Nate, you were dead money, my man. You were
dead
money heading into it. I'm sorry to break your heart, man, but you were dead money. Leading into it.
I missed a dumb 8 ball, or I'd have been up 3-1 in the first set. And I missed a dumb 9 ball in the second set.
I could see Mika rolling his eyes from here. He's rolling his eyes as you say that, Nate.
All right, fine. I'm
How
that
do you like
400 that has a chance of beating Albin. All I
how
need
do you
is a
like
bunch of
these
short tens.
how do you like these rankings, Albin, and how they're gonna work, going into 23, it being more based off of performance? I mean, a guy like you who just wins everything, maybe you don't gotta go and worry about it, right? But just overall looking into the sport, what are your thoughts about it?
I mean, the rankings are all over the place right now. I mean, you got a 10 ball ranking, you got a Matchroom ranking, you got a Moscone ranking, then somewhere you got a WPA ranking, which doesn't count for anything, I believe.
Never heard of it. Never heard of it.
So I don't, yeah, I like what Matchroom did with the world ranking, and they also take it for their big tournaments. Of course, I can see a reason why Predator did their own thing with the Predator Tour, with the Predator ranking, but it also doesn't really count for anything. Only counts for the World 10 ball. So I think it's a little bit too much right now. I mean, I don't know if there should be a world ranking or Matchroom world ranking and a WPA ranking. So what's the difference between them?
Yeah.
I have no
Wouldn't
clue.
Wouldn't it be great if the WPA actually did their job well enough to where you don't need all these things? Wouldn't that be awesome?
No comment.
That was all the comment we needed from you, Albin.
I mean, I'm asking for a friend. Wouldn't it be great?
Yeah. Of course. I mean, I think that was pretty much the biggest issue why we had so many problems in the past years. I think contracts with promoters were signed, which shouldn't have been signed. They just did whatever they wanted to do. The prize money was going up, down, every year. So I think with Matchroom having back on the team and improving every year and doing better, and it's not only they bring new tournaments, they always really think about what can they do better at some tournaments. Like the CLP last year, they saw, okay, the worst case happened, someone played 52 matches, we got to change that. So Emily really thinks about it, and also of course her team. I give them big credit for those kind of things. But yeah, the last couple of years, I think the federation was just all over the place and made many wrong decisions.
And honestly, they're willing to change in the moment as well, which I like to see. When they have something, they saw how slow Eklund was playing his matches last year in the CLP, and on day 3 they enforced a shot clock. I mean, they're willing to change in the moment. They're willing to learn. I think they waited till day 3. I'm pretty sure on that, because I think the first day was like 12 hours or something like that. The second day was like 11, and then it went down to like upper 9s.
Yeah,
neither here nor there.
Yeah, could be. Yeah.
But I mean, they're willing to admit mistakes. They're willing to grow from them, and they're willing to, try to make it as best as they possibly can. Not only for the players without giving into them, because of course, if they listen to the players all the time, the formats would be completely different, right? You just can't go with the players all the time.
But still, I think I have never been asked what I prefer. And I think that was one of the biggest problems, that the players never were involved in decisions. I think once we signed, if we want 9 ball on the spot or 1 ball on the spot, I think that was from the WPA. I think 80% signed for 9 on the spot, and next year we played 1 on the spot.
It's crazy.
Go America.
So I think it's rough to only ask people who are not really involved into the game, and never ask any player for their opinion. I mean, there are players who have been on the tour for 120 years, like Darren, and so sometimes of course he thinks he has the issue for every problem, but it's tough. I think they should involve the players more into their decisions.
Well, Albin, you defended one title this year. The World Championships are coming up. Are we going to see you defend another one?
That would be crazy. I mean, I'm coming almost straight from Vegas to London, so it's gonna be a rough one. I know already if I'm out of the 10 ball early, I'm going straight back home, preparing for World 9 ball. But of course, I want to defend it. I'm super ready. I'm super excited for it. I think this year we play on diamond tables. Maybe it could be a little bit different to last year, but I think Asian players are still not there, which is a good thing. So no, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I had so many close matches last year that could have gone either way, and yeah.
Oh, might have lost him. Maybe he's getting a phone call or something. He's just
Poor
dodging questions.
effort, Albin. Yeah, he doesn't want to talk about it. He doesn't want to talk about it. I think it's because he knew
it's
that
the WPA call and they heard his response.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
that's
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
that's probably
he's
no. He has no chance of doing anything in the World 9 ball. He already sold it out. He's gonna win the U.S. Open this year. He already said.
I don't know, man. I like the sound of a world championship has a ring to it, but I get you want to get all the ones that you haven't won yet, and he's running out of the ones he hasn't won yet. So,
Is there anybody in history of pool? I mean, this is a well here, perfect. We got him back. This is like a perfect question. Is there somebody in pool who basically has won every single major title? World 8 ball, World 9 ball, World 10 ball, U.S. Open. I suppose probably Darren, right? Maybe.
I believe so. I think last time we had a discussion at Moscone Cup at 4 a.m. in the morning. we talked about it with Carl, and it was a little fight actually. No, well, it was a little fight. Let's say.
Was this last year?
Yeah. About Darren
at the second bar we went to.
We went to Glasgow after the Moscone Cup, and there we had a party, and
I was there.
Yeah, and at 5 a.m. or something, we talked about it, and it was quite funny. Yeah, and I think Carl mentioned that he won 9 ball, 8 ball, 10 ball World Games, U.S. Open. I don't know what else. Straight pool, of course. I think he won world championships in every discipline.
Carl has?
No, Darren.
Oh, I was gonna say.
Carl told me. No, yeah, Carl won 8 ball.
Yeah. Well, Darren's in a class, and you're certainly getting there. It seems like with all your achievements, and seeing Darren go and have a resurgence of his career has been nothing short of fantastic. I mean, it's 22's off to a great start for you, Albin. And what inspires me is hearing you go and say, I just landed, and then I'm still getting up at 8 a.m. to go and train, and not going and just celebrating.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's no need to celebrate. I'm not a big drinker anymore. Since I have a kid, of course, I think it's just a different life I'm living since becoming a father. And well, of course, sometimes I have a celebration like after the World 9 ball or Moscone Cup, of course. But sometimes there's just no time, because if I go drinking, I need at least 2 days to recover, where I actually could go for practice, and prepare for 10 ball.
Yeah, I mean that to me sounds like a professional. I've been hearing a lot of the same stuff out of Jason lately too. I think it's Jason is with the pool room and becoming a father for the second time. I think that there's levels of I don't want to say growing up because it has such a negative connotation to it, but maybe it's just a new level of focus that you guys are getting, that it's we just don't I don't think that we see that in the US players. I just don't. I mean, Mike, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but do you see this level of focus and professionalism in any US players these days?
Well, I mean, Tyler comes to mind. Shane's work ethic has been talked about, but I don't think he's got that same discipline.
Now, I would
now I don't think Shane does. Shane wants to go fishing, and I get it. You've already done so many things in the sport.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's tough. It really is. But there's only but a few guys that really treat it like that level of professionalism.
To be honest, I think it also started because it's way too easy for Americans to earn money with gambling. So I think their mindset is just different.
Yeah, it's true. It really is.
That's what I believe.
Well, there's always going to be somebody on the other side of that gamble.
No, of course, but they could have so many more matches than they have actually right now. I mean, they're playing for money, which is incredible. You know, I mean, you got like at the Derby City, Shane Wolford against Chris Reinhold, and you think, wow, I mean, it's just crazy amount of money. You know, I got to win one major for it, and he plays like 6 hours, 5 hours. I don't know. Depends on the race. Or yeah.
That's good. That's a good question, Jacob. Yeah, I should have you
sign. Did you bring it from the toilet?
Yeah.
What desire, if any, do you got in going and getting in a big gambling match?
Hold on.
Albin?
Hold on.
Oh, go ahead.
Do you honestly want to hear the answer to that, Albin? Was that rhetorical?
No, I don't think so.
He knows the answer.
Go ahead, Mike.
I was to say, what desire, if any, do you got to go and maybe play a decent sized money game if you were to go and get staked in it? Would you be open to it?
Actually, we were already in the discussion about it.
I heard.
Yeah, and well, he actually didn't reply me anymore in the end. I mean, he said that I could play Shane or maybe Skylar, which was okay for me with 9-ball. But then he actually told me that no one would stack Skylar or Shane against me in 9-ball, which was hard to believe, to be honest.
Yeah.
And so he said I can decide between playing Shane 10-ball and Skylar 7-foot.
Negative and negative. No and hell no.
So there was no chance for me. So with a decent match, you know, I would definitely try. You know, I mean, I never did in my life, so I was always looking forward. How would I compete in that kind of a match? You know, and how would I feel? But never really happened.
Well,
we got to make it happen
someday still.
Yeah. I mean, there was one guy who asked me to play Fedor, but I would never play against a friend or teammate. You know, I mean, that's just crazy.
Yeah, I would like to see you and Sky play some 10-ball. Why not big table 10-ball?
Yeah, I'm open for it.
Against Sky, yeah, I think it's a good game. You know,
I think Albin's Albin's a favorite, but
I don't. Yeah, I don't. I mean, don't even talk to Shane about 10-ball. Don't even mention 10-ball around Shane playing. yeah. No. But the game matters, and I mean, you're smart though, because and the games do make a difference. You know, those little subtleties in whether it's a table or a template versus a wood or rack or whatever, like all those things make a huge difference.
No, of course. I mean, I have no clue how to rack the balls with the rack, and I think I will definitely not learn it in a couple of weeks and know what I'm doing there. And playing Shane 10-ball, I think I know my break is way not good enough to play him on a race to 120, maybe a race to 17 or 21, but for sure not over 3-4 days. I think I would kill myself.
You're either going to have really, really tight pockets or really, really loose pockets.
Yeah.
Well, Shane ain't playing on a tight table. Shane ain't playing on a tight table. He's playing on a 4.5.
You don't want to be playing it on 4 1/4 or even 4. I think you get 3 7/8 or something like that. That Shane's break kind of goes out the window. Not, of course, all the way, but I mean, it's, you know, when you're no longer getting 3 balls a pop on average. So, but it'd be interesting out. Yeah. Well, Albin, it's been a pleasure. We've had you for about an hour now. We don't want to eat up your entire night, but we really appreciate you joining on and chatting with us.
It was a pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Congratulations,
And,
buddy. We'll see you in Vegas.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, what do you think
I'm
of
there.
the same time?
Nate,
you think
you got a spot or?
what are you trying to say, man? Come on now. I won one match of pool last month. That's pretty good.
That's good.
I'm telling
It's
you.
the same like Ekland did at the PLP.
Oh, we're gonna clip that out and we're gonna check it out on the social medias here
Shots
pretty soon.
fired. Shots fired.
I think if you would have bet on being Ekland last in the group, I think you would have made $1 million.
For sure. Yeah.
Out of
No doubt about
$10
it.
probably.
So
No one could believe.
Including
Oh,
himself. He was
Of
so
course.
he was so disinterested he wouldn't even wake up to play.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's true. That was tough.
On that note, we'll see you guys later.
Yeah.
All right, same time next month, Albin, when you snap off the 10 ball, yeah?
Yeah, definitely. No,
Perfect.
nothing easier than that. Take care, guys.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right. Take care, everyone. Thanks
Thanks
for
a lot.
tuning in.